We're talking about the rumor mill, and the Maple Leafs are all over it. Yet there is an absence of one name that I think most people were anticipating we'd hear to an extent, and that's William Nylander. Are you surprised that his name is not out there even in the slightest?
Yeah, I think so. Not that it means that any of the rumors are going to come to fruition, but there's enough names out there you think somebody would have connected one to the other. You know, like I'm reading all these rumors about right-handed defensemen and possible trades that, Carolina's got Falk and they've got Pesci, and, it would be easy to connect Nylander to that. But, whether it's right or wrong, it's not there. So, yeah, I think I'm a little surprised. Brown's name's out there, Kapanen's name's out there, and certainly that's more contractual than anything else. But there's a lot of names being kicked around. There's a lot of places I think would be interested. I don't really know why his name's not been kicked around.
Here's the thing I can't figure out, and I think I know the answer, but why all of a sudden, and I believe this has kind of been the last year or two, are right-handed defensemen like unicorns? Like all of a sudden they are like the most prized possession you've ever seen in your life. Well, he's a right-handed defenseman.
Yep.
Got to have him. Like I don't understand that.
Not like my favorite, though, Jamie. He's a puck-moving defenseman.
Okay,
like you want to get a guy that doesn't move the puck.
But there are left shot defensemen who play the right side who are fantastic players. It's all of a sudden like right-handed defensemen, you can't find one, and the marketplace is so massive for them, and it's more than number one centerman or number one goaltenders. It's like, well, it's a right shot defenseman. Like this is coveted.
Well, I would think it's as the game has gotten quicker and quicker, more and more coaches subscribe to Babcock's theory that you need a lefty and a righty together because you don't have time to take a puck on your backhand and move it to your forehand to make a pass. And so, everybody's looking for a lefty and a right shot D, and then it seems like there's a bunch of teams that are deficient in right-handed defensemen. Yet in the Stanley Cup final in Game 7, 8 of the 12 defensemen were left-handed in Game 7.
Yeah, I just...
No, you're right.
So it's like everybody. Sure, you can look for them. If they're not there, they're not there. It's one of my favorite lines is you can't just invent players. If they're not there, they're not there. And yeah, we'd like to have a right-handed shot, and he's not there, so we'll use a left-handed guy there. It's weird that there's very few, maybe just a couple of right-handed D that play the left side. I don't really have an answer for it, like why that would be, but it just seems to be.
Well, it's true, though, because that's one of the first things that comes up when you're evaluating a potential trade.
Right.
And Carolina's the best example. Everyone loves Brett Pesci.
Yeah.
Really? Why? Well, he shoots right. Have you ever seen him play? He's a
what I
good
keep
player,
saying.
but what does that mean?
I think he's a really good player. I watched him throughout the
do I.
playoffs,
I
and
hear you.
I thought, this guy is really good.
I'm saying there's a lot of people
one
that
of the
haven't
other
seen
things
him.
One of the other things that people like about him is his contract is in a really manageable number.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It would be a nice contract to have on your books. So if you're Carolina, you're sitting there, you've got Justin Falk, Dougie Hamilton, and Brett Pesci that are right-handed D. You're in a position of strength. So if somebody wants to carve one of those guys away, then they got to pay.
Yeah.
Well, that's the rumor. Like LeBron just tweeted out that the Leafs, I guess, and Hurricanes were talking about a deal featuring Kapanen and Brown surrounding Brett Pesci. And Dreger's saying that Kapanen's name's out there and Kadri's name's out there.
Well,
and
you know what? You brought up, but I'll just quickly, I'm checking. You know why Nylander's name isn't going to be out there until after July 1st?
Bonus.
8.3 he gets this July 1st.
Yep.
That's a solid check. $8.3 million due, payable July 1st of 2019.
If you're his friend, you want to call him up on July 2nd and say, "What are you doing today?"
Oh, you call him on the 1st and you say, "What are we doing tonight?" As the direct deposit goes right in.
The true vet gets there on June 30th.
I was going to say, on the 30th, you're like, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow? Let's get together.
Yeah.
Let's rent a boat."
Maybe I'll crash at your place tonight.
Yeah.
Is your life changing tomorrow? I don't know. You're making like $8 million American tomorrow?
Yeah.
I guess I could be around for that celebration.
That's a good day.
I'm not saying, again, I want to see Nylander go anywhere. I'm just, and maybe that's all it is that bonus. I'm just surprised with all of the chatter that we heard during that contract negotiation. And there were some heavy hitters in this industry guaranteeing he'd be gone this summer.
Yeah.
Putting their names behind a guarantee Nylander will not play beyond this season. And I haven't heard his name anywhere. Doesn't mean it's not happening behind the scenes.
I don't
see it reported anywhere that anyone's calling on him or that Dubas has any interest of even answering the call about him.
Guys, do you think the brakes have been put on a little bit here as the teams still don't have the final cap number?
Yeah.
How goofy is that, Ray? Like, is this not the goofiest look ever?
It's crazy. So, okay, guys, go ahead and do your business. Oh, by the way, the numbers might change after you start.
Well, Brian talks about, Ray, all the time. Like, we want more transactions. We want more activity. They got to come out with this number earlier, don't they, Ray? And just say, okay, go do your business now. Like, create interest.
Yeah.
I can't believe it takes so long to get it finalized, because if you're a team that's operating near the very top of the cap, you got to be careful that you don't, like, what if you think it's going to be $83.2 million, you operate under that assumption, and all of a sudden it's 82.5. They don't say to you, oh, gee, sorry, you get to work on that. It's like when years ago the teams had been told that certain contracts were legal. It turned out they came up with the term the backdiving contract. So they made them illegal in the next CBA after teams already had them signed. Well, that's a little late. Those guys should have been grandfathered in, but it didn't happen. And so all of a sudden you've got to deal with a backdiving contract, and we're going to see a decision coming up from Luongo here in the next little bit as whether he's going to play or start the season and then go on LTI or whatever it's going to be. But that contract was illegal when it was first signed. Then the penalties came in the next CBA, and all this time later, Vancouver might get kicked in the ass because he retires for a cap recapture penalty.
Right.
Like, how is that fair?
It's not.
It's not.
It doesn't make any sense. But this is the way they operate. They never make it easy on themselves, or it feels that way anyway.
Yeah, and we were talking about this the other day, how they can't get that number quicker. My understanding, I was trying to research a little bit, it's because they have to total everything after the finals for hockey-rated revenue, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
And it would be different if it was like Toronto and, who's a big market out west playing.
It was Toronto, Chicago.
Toronto, Chicago would probably have a little bit more than, let's say, St. Louis, Carolina.
Well, maybe what they should stop doing is projecting it publicly.
Yeah.
Maybe stop doing that.
Just make an announcement.
Yeah, stop. Like every year at the trade deadline or at the All-Star game. Oh, we think it's a great year. It's going up as much as this. Shut up and don't tell people that that's what the expectation
or don't leak
is.
it to our guys saying it might be this, and then people are like, what?
But then, again, not to bore everyone, but it sounds like the players have added that inflator there, too, so that would add to the cap, and they're tired of playing escrow.
Yeah, so if people don't understand that relationship, the players apply the inflator or the escalator, so the cap goes up. Theoretically, that puts more money in the system so more players can sign. The negative part to that is when you don't match the revenues for hockey-related revenues the next year, then you have to pay more escrow.
Right.
So the debate internally for the Players Association is apply the inflator and hope revenues go up or project revenues are going up, or just leave it the way it is and pay less escrow. The players hate escrow. And for anyone that might not quite get what escrow is, whatever your salary is, take a percentage off of it,
15%.
and you have to give it back. Whatever it is, in any job. You make $50,000, say your escrow is 3%. Well, then you've got to give back 3% of your salary. So you're not even really making 50. Yeah. You're paying taxes, you're paying escrow. It's crazy. It's a crazy thing for us older guys to get our heads around, that your salary that you sign really isn't it until the escrow is calculated.
Well, as for these rumors, what do you make of Nazem Kadri's name being out there, and what kind of value do you think he'll have league-wide?
Not surprised at all for a couple of reasons. One, the way it's ended the last couple of years for him. I mean, that's a little bit of a concern. Two is that This year maybe offensively wasn't quite what he thought or what they hoped. But his role was different. In the previous 2 years, he was a 30-goal scorer. And then the third thing is his salary. I mean, why wouldn't a team want that? He's still in his 20s. He's got years of productivity ahead of him. Yeah, absolutely, teams would be interested in him. And for Toronto, in a cap crunch sort of deal, this might be a luxury that they can't afford.
Well, that's what we were saying earlier, that it's really disappointing. They have not won a thing, and they're shedding
crunch.
talent because of cap problems. And at the same time, this whole conversation can take a pretty quick turn from, okay, we're doing this out of desperation because of the cap, to actually we're doing it because we want to build our team differently. And what I mean by that is if they can get out in front of it and unload Marlowe's deal, get Zaitsev off the books, and maybe you throw in Connor Brown, all of a sudden you trade a guy like Kadri not because you have to, but because you want to change the look of your team, which I think people can wrap their heads around. But,
Sure.
It's difficult for people to accept. And listen, they have to. This is the reality of the salary cap. But they haven't won a thing.
Last 2 years, Brian, we've said the strength of their team is up the middle.
Right.
Now look at them. And now you're going to just say,
Well,
And if you're trading Kadri because of money, you're getting back a cheaper option, which means you're getting back a worse option.
right. And that's the one
Well,
thing.
worst team.
unless you commit that money somewhere else. So what if you're trading Kadri? What's he at, 4.25, something like that?
Yep,
Yeah.
4.5, I think.
Yeah. So what if you trade him for a defenseman, a right-handed puck-moving defenseman, and you're paying him $4 million, and then your third-line center becomes a player that you're paying $1.5 million to.
Right. So technically, you've upgraded your team, but just not the strength down the middle.
Right, you're going to have to imagine your team differently.
Yeah.
Right, like you're just going to have to. It's like that. There's only so much money to go around. I mean, what's San Jose going to look like? They've got all their money on the blue line.
Well,
The inverse of Toronto, where Toronto's got all their money up front. Like, you can only be strong and really strong in one place. I think nowadays it can't be everywhere.
Well, let me paint a picture for you here. Kadri scored 16 last year, or did he? I think 16.
Yeah.
But let's just say it's 20. Let's say maybe you move that $4 million or $4.5 and get back a player that you believe can get you 20, who is a bona fide 3. And you save some money, and you're right. You move Kadri for a guy who's going to play in your top 4 and give you 22 minutes a night, and makes you a better team. So you really technically haven't left the strength down the middle. You still believe you have the same amount of goals, but you've upgraded your team on the back end.
Then that's a hockey trade.
That's a hockey trade,
very
and
different.
but it makes your organization better.
I love that term, a hockey trade.
But you know what I mean.
But it is.
If it's I have to trade Nazem Kadri and I have to have a $1 million third line center,
Right.
that's not a hockey trade. That's
No.
a desperation cap shedding move.
But if you believe in that trade that you get player X back, who is a bona fide number 3 centerman, and he makes 2.2, and you believe he can get, with this talented team and a little bit of power play time and that type of stuff, maybe he's a 15-goal scorer that can get to 20.
What's the line? If you don't get someone as equally as good, it's not a hockey trade? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it makes your back end, if you get a player
you
on
get
the back
that.
If
If
you get that.
you get
there's
it.
a lot of what ifs.
For example, like, one of the other ways that this is solvable is you draft somebody that works his way into that spot. Tampa Bay has a kid, they're not going to trade him, is Anthony Cirelli. He scored 19 goals last year.
Yeah.
Makes $700,000.
Yeah.
Right? There's going to be a point where Anthony Cirelli's not going to make $700,000. Well, right now he does. So there's your third line center. So have you drafted that player? Can you find that player from another organization if indeed this is what they're doing with Kadri? Like, as I said, you can find lower cost players, but everybody's now looking for the same type of player.
Exactly.
Right?
And
it's not going to be easy.
No, it won't be. And that's the thing. If it's free agency, you're in trouble because the next team might be like, yeah, I'll give you an extra $500,000. And
Yeah.
at some point, the Leafs are going to say, they just can't. They literally will not be able to pay that price. And then even once you move on, okay, that's fine. Let's say you find a way to plug that hole. You're going to. You have to.
Yeah,
you have to
exactly.
field the team. But is Frederick Gauthier still on the fourth line? Is that still your fourth line center because you have nothing left?
I think you need upgrades.
I think you do too.
One of the ways you may be able to solve this dilemma is that Austin Matthews doesn't play 17 minutes anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you top load your team in a sense that they're, Tavares and Matthews are chugging away most of the minutes, and now your third and fourth line guys are doing something completely different, minutes wise. Maybe that's the way you have to look at it. I don't think anything is off the table, and I've talked to a couple of people around here this week, and one thing that I found fascinating is that there's a certain group that they look at it a completely different way than it used to be. However, in the last couple of years, we've viewed minutes and roles and communication with players. It's all different. So you might have to reimagine the team, repicture the team. And so what the Leafs were, this small and skilled, and maybe that's not the way they're going to be. And part of that will be the way that they think about the team. Part of it will be what they can pay.